Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing good. In this lecture, I will start with a new chapter that is quadratic equations. So, I have already told you in my previous lectures what is the meaning of the word equation. So, thereby I am not discussing this word as of now. I am omitting it. Let's directly move on to what do we mean by quadratic. This also has been discussed in my previous lecture. We have seen that if an equation is formed of polynomial of degree 2, then that particular variety of equation will be known as a quadratic equation. For an example here, I will go with the definition. If px is equal to 0 is an equation in which the polynomial px is of degree 2, then we can say that the equation is a quadratic equation. I have written few of the examples here, like 3x plus 4x square is equal to 0. If you concentrate on this polynomial, you will see that this is a quadratic polynomial, thereby making it a quadratic equation. Similarly, there are few more examples here. 4x square plus 5x plus 9 is equal to 0. 3x square plus 2x minus 4 equals to 0. 9x square minus 2x plus 8. Now, this last thing is not an equation. This will be known as a polynomial, a quadratic polynomial, because it does not contain any equal symbol. This I have written you to just demonstrate the difference between an equation and a polynomial. Here no equal sign is present, so it will not be considered as a quadratic equation, but it will be considered as a quadratic polynomial. Now, moving ahead, whenever we write any quadratic equation in standard form, let's assume that for now we are having variable x as a variable of quadratic equation. So standard form of any given quadratic equation will be ax square plus bx plus c is equals to 0, as I mentioned here. As we all know that the polynomial must be a quadratic polynomial, thereby I can say that the value of variable a can never be equals to 0. A should never be equals to 0, as if a becomes equals to 0, this polynomial will get converted into a linear polynomial, making it a linear equation instead of a quadratic equation. So thereby you must be you must be very much careful in observing whether a particular equation is quadratic or not by looking at the the polynomial by which it is made. If the polynomial is a quadratic polynomial, then only the equation will be a quadratic equation. Now, since it is a quadratic polynomial, or I can say it is a quadratic equation, so quadratic equation has degree 2, thereby it must have two roots, or I can say that it must have two zeros. Both I can say roots and zeros. Now, the two roots or zeros can be real or imaginary. What do I mean by imaginary? For real numbers, you already know, thereby I am not discussing it. Now moving to imaginary section, we have been taught in school level that inside of under root sign we can never write any negative number. So if I'm writing any negative number under a root, it means it is an imaginary number. Considering the roots of quadratic equation, so the roots can be real or can be imaginary. Again, if roots are real, they could be equal or they could be distinct, but it is mandatory that I will be having two roots of a given quadratic equation. For an example, I can have a quadratic equation with this two real and distinct roots, or I can have a quadratic equation with two real and equal roots, or I can have a quadratic equation with imaginary roots. You should always know that imaginary roots exist in conjugate. That is, if one of the imaginary root is under root minus 2, another one must be minus under root minus 2. They always exist in conjugate pairs. That is, just reverse the sign of the root in front of it. So from here we can see that we have the nature of roots as real and distinct, real and equal, or imaginary. These are the three variety of roots which we can have of any quadratic equation. Moving further in my next lectures, I will be discussing about the methods by which we can solve quadratic equation, just in the similar way which we have discussed the methods to solve any given pair of linear equation in two variable. There we had discussed few methods like algebraic methods and graphical method. Again, algebraic method we categorized as substitution method, elimination method, cross multiplication method. Similarly, there are several methods of solving quadratic equations as well. In my further lectures I will be discussing it. I hope you have understood whatever concept we have discussed till now. Kindly You can increase or decrease the speed of the lecture according to you from the settings below. For any further doubts, you can comment below, or you can contact us on a WhatsApp number, that is 9040760487. Thanks a lot for watching our lectures. Do share it with your friends as well. Thank you.